Alright, cool beans. Hope you guys enjoyed that small montage on Hex. I'm finally going to be going over an updated StamCro build for the Necrom patch. Honestly, StamCro feels really fun. I'm just going to say it. The main thing about StamCro is the survivability. There's nothing else that really does compare to StamCro survivability. The only one that comes to mind would probably be Templar. But even then, the Stam survivability for this class is unheard of. You basically have 3 hots, and if all else fails, you have a burst heal that literally gives you tankiness. So if you crit heal for 14k, you get 7k resist for 3 seconds. Like, what? Beyond bonkers. And you have some of the best turn and burn damage with Stockies, Dawnbreaker, D-Swing combos. Just beautiful. Tankiness, damage, and the craziest survivability is just unheard of. But how exactly we get this strong build, in order to stick around to the end of the video and I'll show you exactly how. But before we get started, if you guys hit the subscribe and like button, it really goes a long way and I greatly do appreciate it. Also, if you guys ever want to see me play live or mostly get Zerged over live, follow me on Twitch. But without further ado, let's blast these our way into the build. Alright, so for the first skill we do run is Race Against Time. Obviously, this is our snare immunity that just happens to get Major Expedition and Minor Force. If you're wondering why it's on the front bar, trust me, that back bar is filled with juicy back bar abilities. If I could, I would. Next skill is what I would consider your flex spot. You could put almost anything you want there. I put on Razor Caltrops and honestly, it was pretty good. The reason I like Razor Caltrops, it puts Major Breach on the target, which is an extra almost 6k penetration on the target. But you can honestly put almost anything you want there. You want the Scythe, you can put the Scythe there. The main ones I would probably recommend is either that, you can run Chemo Hunter, or Turn Evil. Turn Evil as a stun, really good. Or Chemo Hunter to pull those Nightblades out of stealth and give you Minor Berserk for some extra damage. Honestly, up to you personally. Next skill is obviously Executioner. This is obviously our Execute. The lower health they are, the harder we hit, and trust me, this thing can hit really hard. Next go is obviously Stalking Blast Bones, or most commonly referred to as Blasties. This is basically what sets up our burst. We summon a Skelly Man from the ground. After a certain delay, it hits the target. We want to run the Magmorph is because this Magmorph, 2 things. It keeps it doing flame damage, but most importantly, the longer it runs, the more damage it does, up to 50% bonus damage. And if this thing crits on a vampire, rest and pepperonis. I'm just saying it right now. You're gonna absolutely burst that dude into oblivion. So that's why I prefer the Magmorph. But if you want the Stab Morph, I wouldn't recommend it. But hey, if you want that, it's perfectly fine. It's good for your sustain. And next skill is Dizzy and Swing. Yes, we actually swapped back to Dizzy and Swing. So 2 things about Wrecking Blow. Wrecking Blow is good, but there's 2 things. One, they actually did nerf the Major Berserk duration on it from 5 seconds to 3 seconds. I was kind of a small, like a ninja nerf, where they don't say it, but they nerfed it. It used to last 5 seconds, which was good. 3 seconds isn't bad, but it's still like, it's still whatever. The main thing is Dizzy and Swing actually works for 2 things. One, it procs one of our sets, which if you're wondering what set we run, stick around to the sets and I'll go exactly over what set we're running. But the main thing is when you hit an enemy with this ability, you put them off balance. And if you hit them again, while they're off balance, you stun them for 2 seconds. But most importantly, if they're off balance immune, you snare them by 40%. That snare is honestly super slept on. Yeah, that snare is like night and day difference when you're trying to de-swing someone to oblivion. For ultimate, obviously, Dawnbreaker Smiting. Basically do a ridiculous amount of damage in a cone in front of us, stuns the target, and if they're able to tell the tail of the Dawnbreaker, well, that dot's for sure gonna put them down. For our back bar, we do run Summoner's Armor. This is basically the Necro's armor. Gives us almost 6k resist. And I like this one because it also reduces the cost of Blasties and our Ghost by 15%. Next we do run is Mortal Coil. This is honestly a really cheesy skill. This heal actually scales off your offensive stats. So I don't have a 20, so if I pop my Major Brutality, 20% more spell damage, it actually goes up to 16.3k over 12 seconds, healing you and allies, and restores 170 mag every 2 seconds. And while slotted, 3% more healing. And if on top of that, this skill is completely free. Yes, this skill costs nothing. As long as there is corpse on the ground, this ability is free. It legit is free. It's ridiculous. It just straight up is ridiculous. Next we do run is Resolving Vigor. Obviously this is our burst hot. Heal a lot over 5 seconds and grants us minor resolve. Next go is Spirit Guardian. Obviously this is a pretty good hot, heals you, but the main thing, while active, you reduce the damage you take by 10%. Basically, you get 10% damage mitigation, a unique form of major protection. Last skill we do run is Resist Flesh. This is basically our burst heal. Heals us a lot, puts minor defile on you, but honestly, if you're getting zerged over, you're more than likely already going to have minor defile on yourself. For the amount you heal, half of that gets converted into resist. So if I crit heal for, let's just say 18k, because I've done it, I've crit healed this thing for like 18k before, I get 9k resist for 3 seconds, which is just beyond bonkers to think about. And for our back bar ultimate, Ravenous Goliath. This is our basically get out of jail free card. You cast the skill, you're basically almost immortal for 20 seconds. So basically get some heavies in, reposition, but you can actually turn and burn out some people with this. It is very much possible and it is fun. All right, but enough of that. Let's go over the stat sheets. Alright, so our max mag is over 15k, max health over 33.5k, and our max damage is over 22.5k. Now our recall is fully buffed real quick. Look at that. Mag recov over 1600, our stam recov is over 2300, which is just beyond bonkers. So our fully proc weapon damage on this build is just shy of 5500, and our critical and our weapon crit is over 30%. Now let's look at our penetration fully buffed. So if we proc a certain set with off balance, skelly, look at that. Our physical and spell penetration is over 13k fully buffed. And you have to realize we do have access to major and minor breach on the build, which is basically almost an extra 9k armor shred. So we can basically get almost 22k's physical and spell penetration, which we can actually get an extra 11k from Battlers, which I'll get into in a little bit. Let's go over the resist real quick. So our resist on our back bar real quick. Spell resist over 29k, and our physical resist is shy of 29k, and our crit resist is almost 2100. Very, very tanky. But now everybody wants to know the fully proc weapon and spell damage with full penetration on the build. Look at that. Physical and spell penetration was over 24.5k. Wow. And you have to realize we put an extra 9k for minor and major breach. We are basically getting almost over 30k armor shot on the target. We're basically doing true damage out of 500 Battlers, which is just unheard of. For the attributes, we do have 24 points in health and 40 points in stam. Honestly, I felt this was really good. Honestly, I love bumping my max health as much as possible, but if you want, you could put more points into max stam if you feel like your max stam is a little too low. For the Mundus we do run is obviously the Thief. If you know me, you know that I love crit. Any build I can get, put this Mundus, I put this crit. The reason we put the Thief is because what shreds pugs is crits. If you crit a pug on your combo, guess what? Good night. I hope there's a keep nearby for them res at. And about sweats, what pressure sweats is if you crit. If you keep critting your combo, they're going to get pressured and eventually they're going to get caught off guard. For the food we do run is obviously Jewels of Mistral, saying that purple food is perfectly fine. But obviously if you got a deep pocket or don't mind spending a little extra, or Zofka Smoke Bear Haunch. And obviously we are a stage 3 vampire for one simple passive. Undead. The lower health we are, the tankier we become. And for my race, I am an Imperial. Honestly, in my opinion, Imperial is hands down one of the best races for open world stand builds. We get access to tough, increase your max health by 2k, the most max health you can get from a racial passive. Imperial Metal increases our max stam by 2k. And most importantly, Red Diamond reduces the cost of all your abilities by 6%. That includes Magicka, Stamina, Health, Ultimates, and core combat skills. That includes your roll dodge, CC break, and block, all cost 6% less. So this basically almost negates the negative effects of being a stage 3 vampire. Obviously some great alternatives. Khajiit could be okay on this build, we don't have too low crit. Orc could be really good. Dark Elf could be okay. Red Guard, I don't know why you'd be a Red Guard, but it could work. Wood Elf could actually be really good on this build. Wood Elf is actually kind of a sleeper. Anything else I'd kind of hopefully stay away from, to be honest. Alright, but enough of that, let's go over the sets now. Alright, so for the first set we do run, obviously we do run the power that is Wretched Vitality. If you know me, you know that Wretched Vitality is basically a staple on all my stand builds. Let's just quickly go over it. The main thing, that 5-piece, being able to get up almost 400 Magicka and Stamina recovery, and that is base. What I mean by base, you can get an extra 30% from your pots, and extra, like, I think it's 20% from continuous attacks, from light and medium armor pass. You see, there's so many ways to bump this up. This thing can go up to like 600, even 700 in some ridiculous circumstances. it's back barrable, and it lets us go a full offensive on our jewelry, and it lets us run some unique pots where we don't have to run tripods if we don't want to. On this build, I can actually get some unique buffs from my pots and not have to waste my skills for that. Honestly, if you have not run Wretched Vitality, just run it once, you'll never go back, trust me. The sustain from this thing is just god tier. And for the monster head set, we do run obviously the powerhouse that is Balorgs. I mean, obviously we all know the power of Balorgs. When you use an ultimate, you get weapon and spell damage and penetration equal to how much you spend. Being able to get to 500 weapon and spell damage and over 11k penetration for your whole combo to anybody, and you can turn and burn, and it actually affects your heals if you need to like play defensive after that. Such a powerful monster set. Obviously we do run one piece training because this is a meta front bar back bar setup with the mythic. Why one piece training? Because we do have one slot available, so why not slot training? It gives you the most max health for a one piece. And what mythic is that? Obviously, come on, I mean, you should already know. Markin Ring of Majesty. This ring is like one of the most, I wouldn't say broken, but it's like super, like for how powerful it is, I'm surprised it hasn't caught a nerf. You put this build together, you get 200 weapon and spell damage and over 2300 armor. Just here you go for free, don't even have to think. That's what I like about Markin. The thing about other mythics, they all have a downside. Like Death Dealers, you gotta build it up. Sea Serpent, you hit hard, but guess what? You're snared into oblivion, you can't catch up to anybody. Markin, you build right, you're set. And for the main set we do run Stuns Favor, most common for 2S stuns. Honestly, this thing makes you hit really hard, and it synergizes well with Dizzy and Swing and keep them snared in place. 2 piece adds weapon and spell damage, 3 piece adds offense pen, 4 piece adds even more weapon and spell damage, but the 5 piece, when you deal damage to an enemy who is off balance, your offensive penetration is increased by over 5300 at gold quality for 10 seconds. So when you hit someone with a Dizzy and Swing and you light attack them or you have a dot on them, you get over 5300 offensive penetration at gold quality. If you have this with Major and Minor Breach, Balorgs, and Sharpen, you're going to be doing basically true damage, and you're going to be absolutely melting people. Especially Sweats will get caught off guard by this. So the way we do run it, so for the front bar, we do run the Stuns Greatsword. Honestly, I felt like the Greatsword was perfect on this. That way we can still have some weapon and spell damage on the build. We do run an Azor Stamina enchant. Pretty good for the damage, good for the SAM sustain, but mostly there to be able to proc Minor Breach, which basically almost 3k armor shot on the target. And Sharpen, obviously, because in PvP, penetration is key, and you can just tell we are just like quadruple dipping in penetration on this build. For the back bar, we do run the Restoration Staff of Wretched Vitality. If you want to run the Ice Staff, you can get some block mitigation and block cost reduction. The reason I like Resto, you recover more mag from a fully charged heavy, on-demand major mending, and the lower health you are, the more you can actually heal yourself, which is just insane. And it's also easier to weave the heavies, but either one's fine. For the enchants, an onslaught enchant, and obviously defending because tankiness is next to godliness. And for the body, we do run the typical 3-3-1, 3 heavy, 3 medium, 1 light. So we do run a heavy head of Balorgs, heavy chest of stuns, heavy shoulders of Balorgs, a light sash of Wretched Vitality, medium hands of stuns, medium legs of Wretched Vitality, and medium feet of stuns. For the enchants, if you can, track stat all the pieces. If you can't do that, track stat the big pieces. What I mean by that is head, chest, and legs. And if you can't do that, max damage is perfectly fine. Just adjust your health attributes at the end. For the traits, good old 6 M-Pen, 1 Reinforce. Yes, 6 M-Pen, 1 Reinforce. Only Reinforce I have is a heavy chest of stuns Reinforce, and the rest M-Pen. And for the jewelry, we do run a Necklace of the Trainee, Ring of Wretched Vitality, and a Markin Ring of Majesty, because it only comes in a ring, duh. All infused, all with weapon and spell damage enchants, preferably that Grand Stam Recov, but if you have some or all with Mag Recov, it wouldn't make or break the build at all. Honestly, I felt this was good, but if you want to run some Bloodthirsty or all Bloodthirsty, honestly, you could go that way. I just like full infused because we have like basically 3 heals that skill off our weapon and spell damage, so why not just be incredibly tanky through our heals. And for the food we do run, like stated earlier, we do run Jewels and Mistral, saying that purple food is perfectly fine, gives us a lot of max health and recover everything. But obviously if you got Deep Pocket, or don't mind spending a little extra, or Zafka Smoke Bear Haunch, gives us about 400 more max health and slight more recover. And if you ever want to hear a joke, grants you some health recovery. And for the pots we do run, just good old weapon damage and weapon crit pots. This is basically how we get our 20% weapon damage and our 12% weapon crit. So the reason we want weapon damage and weapon crit is because from the pots I wanted stamina and get some, stamina recovery. So this is the only way to get stamina with those buffs, so that's why we took it. You can either craft them yourself or you can buy the alliance ones from the AP vendors. They do the exact same thing. Alright, but enough of that. Let's go over the CP now. For the blue CP, we do run Fighting Finesse, crazy critical damage, critical healing. Focus mainly, crazy healing done when single target heals. Ironclad reduces our damage taken from direct damage attacks. And the last CP is what I would consider your flex spot. You can either run Master at Arms to increase your damage done with direct damage attacks by 6%, or you could run Exploiter, increases your damage done against off-balance enemies by 10%. So honestly, up to you. Exploiter would give you the most damage, but you have to have that window. After 7 seconds, they're off-balance immune and you don't get this buff anymore. Master at Arms does less damage, slightly less damage, but it works at all times. It doesn't matter if they're off balance or not, you just do the damage regardless. It's personally up to you. And for the red CP, typical Silver Pearl red Hex CP. Celerity increases our move CP by 10%. Honestly, in my opinion, the best CP in the entire game. Survival Instincts, while effective with a side effect, our core combat skills cost less. Relentlessness, being stunned or fear causes to gain major protection for 3 seconds. And Pain's Refuge. The more negative effects we have acting on us, the tankier we become. And for the green CP, it doesn't ever really matter. Rationer, Liquid Efficiency, Gifted Rider, and Steed's Blessing. But alright, cool beans, that's the build. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Honestly, it was pretty nice to update the StamCro build. Honestly, I have been missing Disney, so I'm not gonna lie. That snare is such a godsend. Like, you do not realize how powerful that snare was until you got rid of it. And honestly, switching back to it was honestly really fun. Snaring pugs so they can't get away from you. It was really good. And honestly, that small nerf to Wrecking Blow was kind of weird. They actually nerfed it. Yeah, it went from duration of 5 seconds down to 3 seconds for some reason. Which, it might not seem like much, but in PvP, that extra second or two can really make or break a combo. But yeah, honestly, what I like about StamCro, the healing is insane. I'm just gonna say the StamCro healing is one of the most insane healing you will ever see. You have literally 3 hots. You have 3 hots and a burst heal. You literally have 3 hots and 1 burst heal. You are almost unkillable on this build. And you can actually do some very good turn and burn damage. The only problem is Dizzy and Swing for the most part, or Uppercut. It's a little wonky, but if you like the Dizzy and Swing, because trust me, when it works, it hits. But the problem is, will it hit? But yeah, hope you guys did enjoy it. For those that are still sticking around to the end of the video, hope you guys did enjoy it. Honestly, if you guys can, hit the subscribe and like button. It really does go a long way, and I greatly do appreciate it. Also, if you guys ever want to see me get Zerged over live, follow me on Twitch. And for those that truly want to support me even further, I have opened up a Patreon, so if you guys want to support me there. But as always, hope you guys did enjoy the build video. Like the video if you liked it. Comment your thoughts or experience with the build. Also, anything I might have missed out, video what you do next. Subscribe for more. But most importantly, stay Zerging.